Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in today's video, sponsored by the makers of Call of Dragons, I want to talk about my 5 marksman configuration for the open field, because I am really enjoying it in Call of Dragons. In fact, it's honestly my favorite play style, and I'm kind of shocked that I'm now considering going in the direction of being a marksman main, even though I have picked up 22.7 million merits so far in this season. The final zone hasn't even opened yet. It's a couple days away, which is kind of nuts. And the only reason, well, whatever. Yeah. Anyways, I spent a lot of time in garrisons with infantry. I'm in a garrison right now. And I'm focused on primarily like swapping out my captain rather than fielding. I still have that many merits. So let's talk about the 5 marksman combo that I'm using. We can talk a little bit about the talent and the pets and just go over all that stuff, because if I had known about this sooner, I would have done it a long, long time ago, and I have just been really enjoying it. So let's do this thing, shall we? I'm going to hit multi-create, and here is the 5 marksman configuration I'm using. Now look, I generally don't think it's a great plan to bring 5 marksmen and no infantry into the open field. In fact, most of the time you really wouldn't catch me doing this. The reason I do something like this is when I'm playing on a mobile device, which look, could just be a skill gap on my part, but like I can't manage multiple troop types if I'm on a mobile device. And that's probably just my problem. But I have a much easier time controlling 5 armies at the same time if they are all the same troop type. And that works very well for marksmen. It obviously works for mages as well, although I don't have a 5 mage configuration yet. But here's my 5 marksman configuration, okay? And hands down, obviously, the best marksman in the bunch is the Maggrat Zaeda. And my biggest artifact regret is unequivocally not moving all in on the Maggrat Zaeda artifact as soon as it landed, the Gilded Crossbow. Deep regrets for not having gone all in on that artifact. That would have been worth the money, hands down. And it is what it is. It's a powerful artifact. Instead, I'm using the Heart of Kamasi. Gives me defense, which is giving Maggrat Zaeda a surprising amount of survivability. I might consider moving that somewhere else because she's already so healthy. In fact, looking at this now, I don't know. I could theoretically switch over the Shadow Blades, and I don't hate that choice to give attack over here and the defense over there, because this is already pretty healthy. I will probably make that tweak. In fact, we can just do it right now. We just make the switch. Okay, and we'll hit save. So Shadow Blades. That's what I'm going to put on there for now. Maggrat Zaeda is like so eternal with the healing. And she's especially eternal because I have a Sand Lizard. Now, I built this Sand Lizard before this pet even existed, the Shadow Manticore. I'm considering building out this Shadow Manticore where, look, I took it to 2 stars on the talent. I got an 8-slot pet. I could do some stuff with this, but I'm currently using, like I said, the Sand Lizard. I built this before the Shadow Manticore came into existence, and it's doing some really cool healing. With the end of season skill and the agility roll I have on this pet, I am healing a ridiculous amount every 4 seconds. And it's hitting 4 armies. So the heal per second off of this thing is pretty legit, especially because I'm enhancing it with Divine Blessing and also Tranquility. Now, it's possible that these 2 skills don't stack, which would be really, really upsetting if that were the case. But theoretically, they do stack, at least the way they're worded here. And so that is a lot of healing that I should be doing. In addition, obviously, Maggrat Zaeda is all about her normal damage. And the Sand Lizard doesn't need much more to be fully functioning as a pet. So I went in with Chain Strike. I could have taken the, what is it, like Advanced Chain Strike? Is that the one that does the damage? I didn't. So every 3 Chain Strikes, I do damage. That would be a pretty solid pick as well as a follow-up to that. But instead, I really wanted Timely Strike for the crit rate, because we know that my normal damage is insane. This army is all about normal damage, in case you didn't know. So I just pump the crit rate at like all cost, because that's my active skills as well that are going to do just like a ridiculous amount of damage. And I also went for crit damage. So even though my strength roll is poor here, I went for that combination of skills. I did this ages ago, and this pet has served me very well, I would say. Now, there is, of course, a skill that I could theoretically have on there. It's an end-of-season skill, right? We're going to give up the challenge for now. I don't know if I actually saved the new configuration. Maybe I did. Whatever. Might go back and fix it. But for the end-of-season rewards, is it still an option? Yeah, this guy over here, Advanced Chain Strike. So the reason I didn't take this is that I'm already healing plenty, bro. I'm already healing plenty. I don't need Advanced Chain Strike on this army. It heals so much already. And it is going to use up a precious agility skill. And there's already like at least 4 agility skills I would like to have used. So that's why I didn't go for that one. And I also didn't want to go for like the single target heal on this pet. It's because I'm 5 stacking my marksman. Oh my God. Like I was talking to, I think it was Bodhi. No, not Bodhi. It was Joker. Who said like, bro, you could just run all sand lizards and it cooks. And I would believe that actually. So anyways, we go back to the configurations I've got here. And the Maggrat Zaeda is my biggest merit earner by a mile. There are times where I come back with those 80K plus merit reports. And like, look, I'm in a top 10, server battling against other top 10 servers. And they are insane. In fact, I'd say BDO is... I feel like it's pretty uncontroversial to say BDO is a top 3 server. I mean, we're literally fighting off 2 top 10 servers at the same time, and we're doing it, which is insane. The fact that we're able to do that at all is actually insane, and it didn't save the switch of these skills. That's probably my bad. Anyways, let's talk about the next army in this configuration. Now I actually save it. Yes, okay, this time I actually saved it. The next army I want to talk about here is a revival of Nico Kinnara. And there's only so much I want to say about Nico Kinnara because this combo is like one of the very first ones you'll use as marksman or with marksman. The only exception here is if your Nico is not maxed, then instead of using Nico, you'll use Hosk Kinnara, which there are still reasons to dust off your Hosk Kinnara, and I have had a lot of fun with that this season, pulling down, honestly, some shocking reports for the way I was playing with that March, but whatever. I think that the Nico Kinnara is really in style with defense break right now because of Sibyl also applying a defense break. In that case, the Rattle Spear is amazing, and I think that the Snow Peak is fine. I'm not in love with Snow Peak's effects here, but it's fine, and I use it, and I think it's serving me pretty well. Not the best configuration of skills on this thing. I haven't touched the skills on this in ages. And then I just found myself really surprised how much I'm enjoying Marksman. It certainly would warrant more investment into these skills, and something like Chain Strike would be a pretty easy upgrade, and it would just increase my damage. So I might look into something like that, even though I was really surprised that this pet was still kind of relevant at all, because I thought very little of the sort of concentration skill. I'm not a huge fan of it, okay? But hey, this army has been performing well for me. I would say it's like my... typically second or third best merit earner. The synergy here is all in the defense break. Nico has it on the active skill. Kinnara has it on the awakening, 20% chance to trigger from normals, okay? Which brings us obviously to Syndrion Ffraegar. It's like an oldie but goodie. Syndrion Ffraegar with the gold crest, extremely uncontroversial, what I've done here. And the Night Rock is slightly controversial because I moved all in on a hero damage build, which... when I did the math back in the day, this was unquestionably the way to go. So obviously there are other strategies for building the pet. This also happens to be a cheaper way to build the pet rather than moving in on like, the Blood Roar, Angry Roar sort of package, Fatal Bite, very expensive. I'm using Eviscerate and also Timely Strike, giving me more normal attack crit chance, right? And also more normal crit damage. And with Syndrion Ffraegar, you get a lot of crit damage. It works out. This has been a great pet for me. And, I'd say Syndrion Ffraegar typically comes in 3rd or 4th for merits in my marksman. Then we've got the sort of new combo, which is pretty straightforward. I mean, Falgrim and Sibyl, and they're not maxed. Currently 5-5-4-3. I talked about this in my video yesterday, so I won't go too in depth. I'll refer back to that video. And 5-4-2-5 on the Sibyl. I covered this pet in the video yesterday as well. Card will be in the end screen. I'll encourage you to go check it out if you want the deep dive on this one. I also covered in another video this configuration over here, which was really surprising to me. And this is probably my worst performing March, unfortunately, on average. I would say this is my worst performing marksman. And it is what it is. I'm using the Theia and Bahorn. And Theia is maxed, but Bahorn is not. 5-5-2-1. Okay. I'm also using the Wyvern Riders for the flying. Flying here has incredible synergy with both Theia and Bahorn because they fly. I covered that in another video as well, so I won't go in depth on that now. I'll simply say that this combo's worked pretty well for me, despite having a not maxed artifact. And the Visage of the Sanctus has done fine, I would say. And also a pretty suboptimal Sand Lizard here. I've done, as you can see, almost nothing with this thing. And I need to like actually commit now, I think, to a pet and decide like, what am I doing? There's obviously not really a pet designed for this combo. So I am going to have to kind of figure it out. The Sand Lizard is a great tide over. The healing here is perfectly fine. And this pet has been a really nice go-to for like testing different hero combinations. I'm like, I just put the stupid Sand Lizard on there and like, it's good enough. Okay. I find this pet to be good enough. And it's not great. It obviously needs a lot of work, but like actually an insane agility roll here, an amazing strength roll, and a decent intelligence roll. So like a pretty solid foundation for building out. And, you know, luck here, I would probably take this skill off for sure. This would disappear. I'd get rid of Great Care for sure. And the Spirit here, this is okay. The Tranquility, enhancing the Stone Aura. I'm not opposed to that. We could keep that on there. But this pet, it needs some rethinking. And I don't know what pet I would pair with Bahorn. Like, I suppose, yeah, I don't know. Like, I suppose because the ball I'm using does so many defense breaks, I could theoretically go for another one of these, and that could work out. I think that could be a decent choice. I don't know. Is there some pet I'm supposed to use on Bahorn here? What am I supposed to use for this config? I'm not actually sure. I mean, it's not... Yeah, it's not the Snow Peak. It's not really the Golden Rock, because you're supposed to have some sort of passion effect somewhere. I'd rather do the damage than have the buff here, for sure, by like a long shot. So I've already got one of these. Now, the advantage of a Golden Rock is that it does fly. So if you actually were going to use the flyers as flyers, right, you'd have to basically, I think, take Golden Rock. But it's never going to really get to the damage mode, because you need to have a way of gaining passion, and this configuration does not have that. You could use, you know, the Snow Peak, but you're not inflicting defense break. You're going to get no damage from this. That feels bad to me. And I suppose the final option's like a Night Rock, but you're not really a normal attacker, and you're definitely not doing normal crits. So that ain't it. Yeah, like, so that kind of just leaves this guy over here, the Shadow Manticore, which is just a fine pet, right? Like, it's fine, right? You do damage, you heal. Like, sure. Like, it's super reasonable. It's not really designed for this, though, right? So I don't know what the answer is. Definitely let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, what pet I should consider for this. A Venom is like, I suppose that's an option as well. If you think you're going to take a lot of damage, but I don't think Venom is really kind of where it's at for this one either. All right. So this brings us to kind of an interesting point, which is, all right, Cheesy, pretty cool that you've made this configuration, but there's one more critical thing that we need to know, and that is the talents. So let's go look at some Marksman talents here, right? And I think the Marksman talent checkup is pretty valuable. I, for one, know that I probably have a few blunders in my talents. I just don't have the kind of time necessary to do enough of my own, like, research and thinking on this. So what I've done with my Magze is I'm actually using a build I had for Paramount Championship with a small amount of march speed. And then I go in to the precision tree. I take the normal attack damage bonus instead of the march speed or the hero skill damage taken reduction. I do less hero skill damage, but increase my attack because obviously Magze doesn't care about that. And I suppose I could make myself more tanky by going with the counterattack damage taken reduction. No, it's a counterattack damage bonus. Nah, that makes no sense. Yeah, I took the right thing here. Then I take Invincible. When launching a normal attack, I have a 10% chance to gain Onslaught. Now, Onslaught buffs don't stack, which is why I avoided Onslaught over here. Another way to go and get it. I put 5 points into Cool Under Pressure. Because I stay healthy, this is just straight value. And then I go over here and get Intrepid, giving me a chance to increase my crit rate, give me some crit damage, and a chance for some extra normals. Seems really good, right? I also, very critically, put 1 point into here, Dedication. Having the chance to heal on this gives you a chance to trigger the healing synergy on the skills from Maggrat, so that's really good. And I've foregone getting these talents over here. Whenever your marksman casts a rage skill, well, I don't do any rage skills. When your legion consists of only marksmen, they gain 5 stacks of attack every 10 seconds, and then they start to fade. I find that kind of, I don't know, am I missing something? Not all that exciting. Plus, I don't really need more damage taken reduction. I don't want to decrease my range. I don't do any hero skill damage. So I did go for the normal attack boost, fully loaded over here. I have 1 point in the damage taken reduction, but 5 points in irrepressible. Okay, ignore 2% of the enemy's defense. Seems like a decent pickup. All right, I suppose that suppression could be a very powerful choice for the way that I'm running my marches now. And the thing is that I don't cast rage skills on this pair, so no, actually. Right? Like you don't have rage on Mag Zaeda, do you? I'm not casting rage skills. What am I doing here? She's not doing a rage skill. It's just a passive skill. Zaeda? Where are you at? It's been a minute since I've actually read this skill. Passive skill. Yeah, so feel good about those choices. Which brings us to Syndrion. Man, I don't even know what talents I have on my Syndrion. It's been so long since I've looked. Why would I look, right? I got some March speed, normal damage. And here I didn't take Onslaught. I took Whirlwind. When launching a normal attack, 10% chance to deal hero skill damage. Seems really good. When I'm healthy, I do more damage. This is kind of debatable. These points are pretty debatable, but I need 5 to advance. And I did take normal attack focus and crit rate. Those are so important. I do go for Mighty Slash, and then I double back to say, hey, I actually really want Head Held High. I want to generate rage. This combo uses rage skills, and the faster you generate rage, the way better off this combination performs. And here is where I'm getting my Onslaught effect. So I took that from here. And then I've got 2 points that I put into Irrepressible, ignoring defense. Would be kind of nice to put them over here, but I don't have enough talent points to spare on this, and that's where we end up. Which brings us to Nico, and I recently reworked his talents. I did not have an optimal build, and now I feel it's certainly better, but I'm not totally sure yet what I want to do here. I feel like there's more I could do. Probably removing some march speed is in order to maximize what I can do. So let's talk about it. I went and I took march speed initially because Nico and Kinnara are very slow. They have no march speed inherently in their skills. This is a huge problem. They will fall behind, which is why I went and I took march speed in both places to give myself 25% more march speed. It matters in my opinion. From there, I've taken Whirlwind. Okay. I've gone in and I went Cool Under Pressure. It's good when you're doing well. I suppose that when you get low, it's not so great. You could argue for Irrepressible instead on this army specifically because of all the defense break stuff it's doing. It'd be reasonable. I really wanted Head Held High, which is why I went here. And I have 5 points in Dedication. Honestly, you know, I think I would redo this. At least certainly I want to try it. This was like my first kind of test here. And I think what I would do is, Yeah, I need to switch this around. Well, you know what? We're going to build this together. So we're going to do the reset on this bad boy. Nico talent build session. I told you, like, I haven't had nearly as much time as I'd like to look at this. Okay. So I think we take this. We go over here, and we obviously have to get the attack. I need the march speed boost, and I want to get myself a little more tanky. And I really like the instant proc kind of skill damage. So I think this is pretty good. I think that's what I want to take. I like invincible, but I think I'm more about the skill damage on this. And then we go over here. We take this. We take head held high, which seems outstanding. I don't hate reducing the damage I take, but we'll go with intimidation for now. We boost our skill damage. We give ourselves some HP, some rage gain. Seems good. For the most part, I'll stay kind of healthy. Hopefully. Hopefully. And then reduce my defense, but increase the damage. That is savage. That is so savage. But I think I'm going to do it. Reduce my defense, but increase my damage. Whew. Okay. And then from here, this debuff seems so valuable. Your Legion consists entirely of marksmen. They inflict fragility when casting rage skills. Increase the normal damage taken. Like, it depends on what I want to do. I think this is really bursty, which I really like. But I also really like the idea of inflicting a debuff onto my target. Specifically, this seems like a good way to take down infantry. I'm sure at least somebody in my group is already doing this, but I'm going to do it anyways. I would prefer to take this one. Burst shot seems really good. This seems really, bursty, which is what it's designed to do. And that seems very powerful. And I now have 1 talent point free, which I can send back over here for a little bit of march speed. And we'll call this the marksman tree, right? I guess I already had a marksman tree not built out. Okay, cool. Yeah, I want to try this one. Marksman. Done. Switch. I think this looks good. What am I missing, chat? Confirm. Yeah, I think the reason I didn't want to take an onslaught, now I remember why, is that he gives himself onslaught when casting rage skills. So you really want to avoid that. Yeah, that makes sense. We got there, chat. Nice. Okay. Jeez. We're going to go completely rearrange any other talent builds? How about Falgrim? So Falgrim's kind of an interesting one. I went in on a very similar build to what we just did. Almost identical, except I took burst shot like we were talking about. I feel pretty good about that choice. And then I went and I took a little bit more normal damage. This is kind of a skill damage army, but whatever. I ditched the march speed, kind of surprising. Then I took more hero skill damage because Falgrim Sibyl really cares about that a lot, and I'm increasing my damage dealt when I'm in battle. So all that seems good, and this build has served me pretty well. I feel good about this. PvP tree is a nice add here. And then the final talent build is the Theia. Now, I made a whole video about this, so if you want to check out my Theia video explaining this build, it's been working for me, and I've been pretty happy with it. So you can let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Let's see here. This is Unrelenting Fury, yeah, and Head Held High. Both of those generate a lot of rage. But overall, I would say this army does less damage for me, and I'm just not a huge fan of like these talent points, which are kind of a waste. I suppose there are times where I need a hasty retreat, but the rest of these don't really help me out. So yeah, those are the talents. You enjoyed the vid? Throw a like on here, subscribe. This is a much longer video than I had intended, but it's my full marksman breakdown. And I feel pretty good about it. I could theoretically take one of these marksmen or Theia up to 5 stars now. I have the stars for it. I like having stars in reserve because you just never kind of know what you might need to do. For me, especially. I just feel like I've worked on heroes I wasn't expecting to work on this season, like Theia, for example. Yeah, but I don't know. The thing about Theia that's deceptive is that even though this is my worst performing marksman march. It also is shielding an ally. How much do I value that? I don't know, kind of debatable. You enjoyed the vid, throw a like on here, subscribe. If you want to see the other marksman videos that I was talking about for the Falgrim combo and the Theia combo, cards in the end screen, all right? Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Leave any tips or tricks with your marksman down below in the comments.